SuperTalk Mississippi Media production.
Come see your locally owned and operated Linton Glass for all your glass needs. No matter what glass you need to replace, you can count on Linton Glass. Call us today at 601-835-4336 or find us on the web at lintonglass.com.
South Communications, its management, or advertisers.
No spin, no shortcuts, just the truth, straight from the source. Richard Cross is back. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping. With folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living.
Mornings with Richard Cross with you. Presented by Community Bank. Ever notice how some places still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how it works. You're not an account number, you're a name because they are part of the community. Learn more at communitybank.net or stop by your local branch today. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Throughout the show today, we are remembering the great Dolly Parton. An announcement yesterday from Donald Trump, the President of the United States, that a great and fabulous woman, an American, had passed away, and at least in part to honor her, he was lowering the flag to half staff. Governors across the country have followed suit. I don't know if it's been universal. Greg Abbott in Texas did. Tate Reeves was quick to follow suit here in Mississippi, offering Mississippi's prayers and condolences to the Dolly Parton family and saying that for the next week, flags in Mississippi would be lowered to half staff to honor her memory. I thought that was a really cool gesture. Sometimes we get a little willy-nilly with the flags at half-staff thing, but it's kind of the ultimate honor. And good grief, if anybody deserved that honor, it's Dolly Parton. She is not a fallen soldier, would never claim to be. She was not a stolen valor person. She was never trying to get the attention. It just came to her because of who she was a show-stopping performer. She was herself. The 7 o'clock hour of mornings is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Call them today at 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Will, as you were reading through the stories, the anecdotes, the video clips, the songs, all of that was online yesterday, is there one that stood out to you?
There were certainly some quotes that stood out to me.
Is her best quote or her most laughed about quote, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap?
Yes, that's my favorite one. The other one she had was, hang on, let me pull it up to make sure I get it correct. A loose tongue can lead to broken teeth.
Oh, me.
Anyone who says you can't take it with you has never seen me pack.
Oh, that's good. That's good. In an interview with Dan Rather back in 2020, 2021, he got her to talk about business a little bit, among other things. And she was talking about her number one song, I Will Always Love You. She had written that song and individually, I should say, taken it to number one. And there was a request from another artist to record that song, and it undoubtedly would have been a massive hit. Do you know who that artist was?
Whitney Houston?
No, that would be later. Elvis Aaron Presley.
I've heard
Elvis and his band and his people had come in and were at the recording studio and were about to begin the process when Colonel Tom Parker came to Dolly and said, "Now, Dolly, you know that Elvis doesn't record songs that he doesn't own the publishing rights, or at the very least, half of the publishing rights." And Dolly said, "I was aghast. I was shocked. I was heartbroken. I'd been telling all my little friends out there, Elvis is about to record my song," and everybody was so excited, and I was so excited, and I thought it was going to go to number one again. And she said, "Well, Colonel Parker, I can't do that. This has already been a hit. I've already taken it to number one. I wrote the song. I can't share the publishing rights on this. It's got a chance to be a hit again." And he said, "Well, those are his conditions." And she said, "Well, I'm sorry. I guess he's not going to sing it." She said no to the king of rock and roll and his representation and said, "No, this is my song." And then years later, Kevin Costner actually behind "I Will Always Love You" being sung in The Bodyguard by Whitney Houston. He wanted that song included in that film. He thought that it fit the scene where she's getting on the plane and going away. Dolly tells the story of the first time she heard it. The way she described it, the first time she heard it was on the radio in her car. That's a little hard for me to believe. I'm not calling Dolly a liar. Certainly not. But she says the first time she heard it, she said she was driving from her office in Nashville, maybe just the first time she heard it on the radio, and said was driving from her office in Nashville to her home in Brentwood, and she heard it and nearly ran off the road and nearly had a heart attack. But she wasn't sure about the way in which it started a cappella. Because, you know, with Whitney Houston's version, you know, you hear the, I'm not even gonna try.
Please, Richard, please.
Nah, not on this one. But it's this soft, kind of melodic, almost like she's talking. And then builds into it, and then she goes, when she gets to that part where, and Dolly, she's telling the story, she like sings the "I Will Always Love You" part. She's like, "I nearly had a heart attack." And she's like, everybody loved Whitney. She had the best voice of anybody on the planet at that time. She could out-sing anybody. That's why I was so excited about her singing it, my little old song.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah,
and yes, it did go to number one again. And yes, that song has sold over 100 million copies and been streamed more than
it's huge.
1 billion times, I think it is.
Probably. Another story I read this morning was she was getting ready to go out on tour. And usually, I guess when you go out on tour, you have your roadies, the group of people that kind of tours with you to do all the stuff.
Yeah.
And apparently this particular tour, she had a bunch of new people, a bunch of new faces. So she gathered them all around. It's a bunch of guys, essentially. And she pulled up her shirt. And she said, "Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's get to work."
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because, that's what every guy's thinking.
Oh, it's so good. The interview she did with Conan O'Brien, where she's just openly talking about boobs, it's like she was. I mean, that was part of her deal. Conan asked her. He's like, "Hey, you're from a small town in the Smoky Mountains. You're in New York City. That's where we are. Do you like it? Are you intimidated by the city?" She's like, "I used to be." the first time I came, I hadn't made it yet. We didn't have any money, so it was just a quick trip with one of my friends, and we came up here and we're dressed, the way she dresses, and she said the hotel thought we were hookers. And said, somehow we ended up on the street. She's like, just remember, I'm a country girl from Tennessee. She's like, I got a gun in my purse, and we got propositioned by somebody on the street, and we told him we're not hookers, and he didn't believe us. He thought it was part of the act, and she said, I finally pulled the gun on him, and he backed off. But then my friend started laughing at me for bringing a gun to New York, and then he started laughing. Anyway, she after that said, somebody mentions this line from, I guess it's 9 to 5, right? I'm going to get my gun and shoot you where you will go from a rooster to a hen. That was inspired by that interaction on 42nd Street in New York where somebody thought she was a hooker. Mornings of Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Reason he's asking the hard questions every single morning. Richard Cross is back. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Here you come again.
Good to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. A couple of great Dolly quotes coming in. I never really minded the dumb blonde jokes because I'm not dumb, and Lord knows I'm not blonde. I thought that was a good one. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. That's the number if you want to join the conversation. The One Plan from C-Spire is here. That's right, the One Plan. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for new and current customers. One plan, one price, one experience, zero compromise. You can save over $700 a year on 3 phone lines compared to AT&T. Plus, you get that 5-year price lock, which means your price stays the same for 5 years. So don't wait. Get the One Plan today. Visit your local C-Spire store. Shop online now. cspire.com/oneplan. C-Spire customer inspired. 601-879-4395. I hope this is the morning show. Yes, you got the right number. Thank you. For that movie 9 to 5, I don't know who it was. There was a woman that said Dolly wouldn't be able to act because she's just a singer. And she went home that night and memorized the entire script. Everybody's lines in the script. Yeah. I guess one thing we've not mentioned this morning is the Imagination Library. What was it? Dolly, her father struggled reading, didn't really learn how. And she recognized the importance of childhood literacy. And so she started the Imagination Foundation or Imagination Library. It started out as donating children's books to kids born in East Tennessee. And then it grew to Tennessee. And then it grew to the entire United States. And Will, you've got a new one. Did you guys receive the Imagination Library books from Dolly? Have you gotten those in the mail yet?
We have not, but we've got a pretty big library, so let some other kids take them.
Well, yeah. Oh, I understand that. I just remember the first time we got that, and I don't know if the hospital sends out your address to that foundation or it gets automatically, they somehow sweep the records, but I remember us getting in the mail, what is this? Like, who sent this? And I'm like, oh, it's the Dolly Parton Foundation. Like, Jay, did you know about this? And something in the neighborhood of 150 million children's books worldwide sent out to promote childhood literacy. I mean, that's kind of putting your money where your mouth is. Story after story after story about scholarships. There was an East Tennessee high school where the dropout rate was like 35 or 40%. And she went to a meeting of the senior class, and she said, everybody in this gym, partner up. You get with one other person. So they partnered up, and she said, here's the deal. If both of you graduate, I will personally give both of you $500. If one of you doesn't graduate, neither of you get the money. The graduation rate within 1 year dropped from 35% to 6%. It's incredible. They may not have realized that she was teaching them accountability or reward for job well done or, whatever. A lot of lessons in that. A lot of scholarships to both community colleges and universities. I was off on the book. Somebody said 300 million books. Regardless, a massive number. Happy to welcome in a guest now. Paul Cousin is Vice President of Government Relations at the National Park Foundation. And Paul, I hope I said your last name right. Appreciate some of your time this morning. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Great to be here. And you were talking about Dolly Parton. She was a huge supporter of her national park, Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee, where she grew up. I mean, that part of the country defined her as a person. So definitely a loss for the parks.
I feel like I have done my part for the national parks this year. We made a trip out west earlier this summer, and I got the America the Beautiful pass. So I've got the annual pass on my phone this year. And in fact, we were talking yesterday about George Washington and Donald Trump's pictures being side by side on the pass. It's quite the contrast. What an incredible treasure. Let's talk first big picture national parks. And there are some people who that's what they do for vacations. They go to national parks. There are others who, if it's convenient, maybe they stop in. But when you are in one of our parks and you look around and you recognize how big of a treasure this is, it's something pretty special.
Absolutely. And folks think about national parks as those big iconic places like Yellowstone, Grand Teton, the Grand Canyon, Acadia, Shenandoah. But there are 433 units of our national park system, which coincidentally just turned 110 yesterday. And there are quite a few in Mississippi, park units that folks may not think right off the bat, oh, these are national parks. But Vicksburg Battlefield, Natchez National Historical Park, the Natchez Trace Parkway, Medgar Evers' home in Jackson, and the islands off the Gulf Coast, Gulf Islands National Seashore, all protected by the National Park Service, all Park Service units. And so you don't have to go very far from where most folks live to experience one of these nationally significant places around the country.
So to maintain these 400 plus national parks takes a lot of money. And the legislature has... I should say Congress has allocated funds for that in the past. It's my understanding that those funds either are expiring or have expired. Is that accurate?
That is. The good news is that Congress back in 2020 created the Legacy Restoration Fund. And when we think of these places, we don't necessarily think of the infrastructure that goes on behind the scenes. The visitor centers need to be in good shape. The roads need to be in good shape. The trails, electrical systems set up in our national parks. They all need to be functioning for the visitor experience to be good. And so Congress saw that a lot of these projects were getting put on the back burner as other priorities crept up. And so the deferred maintenance backlog in our national parks ballooned to about $20 billion over the years. And so Congress created the Legacy Restoration Fund, which over the last 6 years has invested $6.5 billion in our national parks. That's the good news. The not so good news is that fund expired last September. Some of these projects that have already been started, they're continuing, they're well underway, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done. A lot of our parks, like I've said, have seen a lot of visitation over the years, and that has really worn down some of these key pieces of infrastructure. And so the investment needs to continue. Thankfully, Congress sees national parks as a bipartisan issue, and there is legislation pending right now, the America the Beautiful Act, that has, I know, it's one of those issues that, thank goodness, has wide bipartisan support. And so you have pretty much every member from Mississippi that's on board. The America the Beautiful Act, it's making its way through Congress right now, and it will extend this fund for another 5 years, which is great news, and we want to see happen this year.
Is there a scenario where you take the 5-year cap off that and it becomes a fund that is put in place in perpetuity? Is that even, can that even be done? There are definitely conversations about making long-term investments that last in perpetuity for our national parks, for infrastructure, to make sure that these places continue to get the support they need. But you know, it is a huge step in the right direction that this is even happening. The National Park Service's annual construction budget is $100 million a year. In D.C., in Washington, D.C., the tidal basin right around the Jefferson Memorial was literally sinking into the water over decades. That was a $100 million project by itself. If this were to be taken care of piecemeal, it would have taken years for it to get done. And some of the other projects that the Legacy Restoration Fund is tackling would have been put back on the back burner for years to come. So because of this investment, which is almost unheard of in Congress, it's made a huge dent in it, which is great news. You got time to hang through the break, or do you need to bounce for a meeting?
I have a few minutes.
All right, let's continue the conversation with Paul Cousin from the National Parks Foundation right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
From Mississippi deserves the truth, not the spin. Back to the conversation. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Back through the years I go wandering once again, back to the seasons of my youth. I recall a box of rags that someone gave us, and how my mama put the rags to use. There were rags of many colors, but every piece was small, and I didn't have a coat, and it was away down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together, so in every piece with love she made my coat of many colors that I was so proud of.
Mornings with Richard Cross, the day after Dolly Parton passes away. For a lot of people, Coat of Many Colors was their favorite, and certainly was one of Dolly's favorites. You get a message on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. The world got less interesting yesterday, Miss Dolly. And put something on X yesterday, and I don't know, it's like when you see so many messages, sometimes you feel compelled to, and normally I'm pretty good about just sitting that kind of thing out. But I put, Dolly was supposed to live forever. You know, there are a few people that you feel that way about. Maybe somebody close in your family. By the way, Paul Cousin had to, I think he had another meeting he had to get to and was just too nice to say on the air that he had to go. really interesting conversation about the national parks. We got a message, ceasefire text line question said, hey, your guest said almost every Mississippi congressperson was on board. That infers someone isn't. Who might that be? I did a little bit of digging. Both senators, Cindy Hyde-Smith and Roger Wicker, are co-sponsors of the bill. There are 70 co-sponsors in the Senate. There are only 100 senators. So it has been placed on the legislative calendar. That's the America the Beautiful Act. And then on the House side, Benny Thompson is a supporter. He is a supporter of the Public Lands Initiative, which is the House companion bill to the America the Beautiful Act. I don't know if I have not had a chance to go through representative by representative. Trent Kelly, Michael Guest, Mike Ezel, at least at one point, were not universal co-sponsors on the version of the bill, but that doesn't mean that has not changed since then. Because when I looked at Roger Wicker, he initially was not one of the co-sponsors in the Senate. When I dug just a little bit deeper, he has signed on as a co-sponsor to that bill. So, and it has to do with the Public Land Legacy Restoration Fund, which Paul was talking about, allocated about $6.5 billion over the last 5 years when they had $20 billion in repairs that were needed. And then it expired, I think he said this past September. So trying to get that money back up and flowing again. There are two thoughts. I'm sure there are some people who would be like, huh, what a waste of money. I would argue, actually, no. We do waste a lot of money. The federal government wastes more money than is fathomable to most of us. And the level of inefficiency that exists is mind-boggling. And my guess is that if Will East, you, or I, or many of you listening, had been in charge of spending the $6.5 billion that was allocated through this legacy fund, you could have done so with a greater efficiency and gotten more out of the $6.5 billion than the administrators of those funds for various projects did. That would be my guess. However, beyond our people, our national parks may be our greatest asset as a country. I guess I'd have to think that through a little bit. And Paul's point was, hey, everybody talks about the big ones. You got local ones all over the place, including here in Mississippi. Some of them related to the Civil War, some of them related to the Civil Rights Movement, but areas that need to be preserved historically. And that's all well and good, but you know what? The big ones are worth it too. Great Smoky Mountain National Park is spectacular. At some point in my life, this was kind of a goal as a kid. Will, are you a kind of outdoorsy?
Yeah.
Did you ever consider hiking the Appalachian Trail or part of it?
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, okay. I just think that'd be a cool thing to do. I think I read a book as a kid about a couple of guys that, like, while they were in high school did that and thought, man, that'd be pretty neat. Maybe one day. I don't know. Love being outside, and it'd be a pretty cool hike. But the big boys are great, too. I mean, Yellowstone is spectacular. Grand Teton National Park is even better. Glacier. just spectacular. I've not been to the Grand Canyon. I have not. I've not done the stuff in southern Utah, Zion and Badlands and the Arches and all that good stuff. I got some friends that have done that. I'm not a museum guy, but I am a national parks guy. Big fan. You been to some national parks, Will?
Well, he said the Natchez Trace, so I guess I drove on one this morning.
This morning, you're a daily user of the national parks.
I drive it look, there's quicker ways for me to get to work.
Okay.
But wherever I've ever lived in Mississippi, for some reason, it always is near the Natchez Trace.
Okay.
And so I drive it every day. I love driving it. I would rather go the long way at 50 miles per hour. I know everybody complains about the speed limit, but I would rather go at 50 miles per hour and look at the beautiful scenery and see the occasional deer. Yes, I have to be cautious of them because it's so dadgum beautiful. And I don't see a building. I see maybe one or two houses off in the distance. But for the most part, I just see beautiful landscapes. And when I go back home to North Mississippi, I drive the Natchez Trace. It drives my wife crazy. She hates it because there's no cell service.
Because that's a longer drive, too.
It's a much longer drive and a slower drive. And I love it. When I get around Kosciuszko and you see that canopy of trees where no matter how bright the sun is shining, you can't see the sun because of the trees covering the road. I love that.
Is that the prettiest stretch of the Trace?
To me, it is. Of the part that I normally drive. Now, I don't think I've ever been past.
You've never taken it north to Nashville?
I've never gone that far on it.
You should the next time you go to Nashville. Might cause you a divorce, but you should you give it a go. I think I've done that one time. And I was riding with someone who likes to take in the scenery. It wasn't necessarily my route of choice, but I remember it being cool.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. So, yes, I frequent one every single day.
You ever seen the Grand Canyon?
I've never seen the Grand Canyon.
Nor have I. People say, have you ever seen somebody that didn't say about the Grand Canyon after seeing it in person, pictures just don't do it justice? I believe you.
Absolutely.
I want to do it one time. Text message, Estes National Park in Colorado, an amazing place to visit. I was doing a good job keeping it together until you guys played Coat of Many Colors. That one will get you. I've got an 807 credit score, never bounced a check, and got a 0% interest car loan. I'd like to announce my candidacy for governor. I believe I can balance that budget, Mr. Cross. 807, that's pretty strong there. CD from Taylorsville, the trails in the Smoky Mountains are in bad shape. Something definitely needs to be done to make them better. A lot of trails are closed. I'm convinced Willie Nelson is really going to outlive us all now.
Well, it's Willie, who's still out on tour, by the way, and it's Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, who I'm pretty sure is going to be back on tour soon.
And Mick Jagger, too. Keith Richards and Mick Jagger both are crushing it.
However, Keith lived a little bit more
aggressively.
As he says, I closed up the laboratory in the late 70s. Okay. He had a pretty rough go of it for a while.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. We will wrap up the 7 o'clock hour with you coming up next. Show's presented by Community Bank.
In my coat of many colors, my mama made for me, made just for me.
From the Venom.
Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking. Are we gonna do what they say can't be done? We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm eastbound, just watch no bandit run. keep your foot hard on the pedal. Some never mind them brakes.
Darren in Jackson says, Chris Christopherson once said on a celebrity roast of Willie Nelson, I'm convinced that after the nuclear fallout is all over and the dust has settled, the only thing left on the planet will be cockroaches and Willie Nelson.
Somebody, Randy from Southwest Mississippi texted me, and he says, Keith Richards died in 1968. The drugs just haven't worn off yet.
Still got a pulse. Still got a pulse. I thought this story was interesting out of Vicksburg. Apparently the ambulance service, the van with the lights on it that gets you to the hospital, has been losing money since 1969. I mean, it apparently has remained operational because it's a necessity, but it's been a red mark on the balance sheet for over 50 years. A new agreement is set to make Vicksburg's ambulance operation profitable for the first time in 5.5 decades. Mayor Willis Thompson announced this yesterday. The city has reached terms to provide ambulance transportation services for Merritt Health River Region. The groundbreaking move by the mayor and other city leaders is expected to make the service cash flow positive for the first time since Vicksburg began offering the ambulance operation in 1969. Under the agreement, the Vicksburg Fire Department will provide emergency and non-emergency hospital transports, including basic life support, advanced life support, and specialty care transportation. The city will bill patients and their insurers for eligible transports. The hospital will compensate the city for certain transports that cannot legally be billed to patient or insurer, including qualifying transports involving uninsured patients. Willis Thompson said in a statement, this agreement is projected to move our ambulance operation into a surplus for the first time since the city began providing the service. It's a major step towards strengthening the city's finances while continuing to deliver an essential public service. It's a practical agreement. Revenue generated through the agreement will help support the Vicksburg Fire Department, personnel, vehicles, equipment, and other resources. Why has this not been done before? Not like in Vicksburg specifically. I think, with limited details, this feels like something that makes a lot of sense. Who cares if the ambulance service is profitable, and why should it be, and how is it? Not everything should concern profits. No, I suppose. However, if you have been losing money on a particular service for 55 years and you create a way to make it a non-negative or a positive, then it feels like that's a good... That message honestly feels like arguing for the sake of arguing. Any service that you can provide that's not a drain on your resources feels like a win, doesn't it? Somebody said self-sustaining isn't a bad thing. People are crazy, RC. I don't understand that message. There are stories from just about every hospital in America about the trouble that they have and the expense associated with the ambulance service. And so if the fire department has the capacity to operate this service, that seems to make a lot of sense. Obviously, firefighters fall into the first responder category. You may have to add personnel, you may have to add vehicles, I don't know, but if you're able to cash flow that, it strikes me as a pretty good idea. Chris Brown is going to join us coming up next. He is Northern District Public Service Commissioner. You may remember from last week a new development in the Holly Springs Utility District mismanagement case. Ruling from Judge Larry Little appointed an administrator over the HSUD going forward, and the Public Service Commission vehemently opposed that appointment. We'll get the details from Chris Brown coming up on the other side of this timeout. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. Glad to be with you on this Wednesday, August 26th. News is coming up next. We're back right after that.
Are we gonna do what they say can't be done? We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm eastbound up, watch our bandit run.
Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Why'd you come in here looking like that in your cowboy boots and your painted old jeans, all decked out like a cowboy's dream? Why'd you come in here looking like that? Here comes my baby, dragging my heart.
Will, I was convinced that you would get to this one eventually. If we'd gotten much deeper into the show, I was going to request, why'd you come in here looking like that? It's one of those that my daughters smiled about and sang along with from an early age. We are, throughout the show today, remembering Dolly Parton, who passed away yesterday at the age of 80. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. When it comes to money, trust isn't automatic, it's earned. That's why Community Bank does things the old-fashioned way. When you come to us, we take the time to listen to you and discuss any questions you have. Whether you're saving, spending, or planning ahead, you'll find bankers who know the community because they are part of it. Community Bank, banking designed with you in mind. Visit us in person or online at communitybank.net. Chris Brown joins me now. He is Public Service Commissioner for the Northern District of Mississippi. Always good to catch up with Chris. Chris, good morning to you.
Morning, Richard. How are you?
Doing well. I appreciate your time. I feel like for as long as I have been in this role, you and I have been talking about the Holly Springs Utility District. There is progress that has been made, countless hearings that have been had, frustration that still exists with residents in Holly Springs and Marshall County and even outside of Marshall County. And it feels like we got a pretty significant development in this story last week. As I understand it, there was an administrator that was appointed to HSUD, and you and the other members of the Public Service Commissioner, pretty strong disagreement with this appointment by Judge Larry Little. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. So as you well stated, we've been working on this for a while, about 3 years now. But a lot of it's just the slow wheels of progress. But Monday last, not this past Monday, but the Monday before, we had a hearing in front of Judge Little to ask him to appoint a receiver, much like a school receiver, a school in crisis and distress. The state appoints a receiver to come in and kind of take over it, get it triaged, get it cleaned up, and then decide what to do with it from there. So that's the kind of pattern that we were going after in Holly Springs. The hiccup we had was, we were looking for a professional receiver that could come in and analyze everything to make sure that customer complaints were being heard and phones were being answered, that forensic audits were being commissioned and executed to make sure how much money there is, where's the money going, is it being misappropriated, or is it really just a huge lack of revenue for that utility district? And have somebody independent, somebody that wasn't beholden to somebody that was leaning on them up in that district, in that area. So the Public Service Commission, we recommended a group that professionally does crisis management for businesses across the country. They have experience doing this, and it would have gotten that HSUD bifurcated, if you will, from the city, so it can start triaging and repairing itself and being able to provide not only reasonably adequate service, but, on a march towards a bright new day for Holly Springs, literally.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that didn't happen. What happened, for the short term anyway, for now, is the judge appointed the current manager, which has been working for the city for 9+ months. And nothing against the man himself. He's just compromised, and so he's already got in his idea, in his mind, how it's supposed to run and how it's running now. And our contention was he's not going to change it, and he's got too many headwinds because he's kind of supposed to be working for he's supposed to work for the judge and the court system and not the city. But as we saw in this last storm, the city's still calling the shots. There's social media posts everywhere. Hey, I talked to the mayor. Thank you. I got the problem fixed within 5-10 minutes. Nothing against the mayor at this point, but that system is supposed to be in a receivership on its way to recovery, and it's much the same thing. Even today, there's best reports we've seen. There's still over 1,000 people out of power 4 days after the event.
Chris, I believe in transparency, and so I will say this publicly. I have known Judge Larry Little for a long time, like since I was a young kid growing up in Oxford. His son and I are roughly the same age. I have always known him to be fair as a judge and as a good man. I'll just put that out there. And so I feel like I should say that before I ask you, what do you believe is the disconnect between what the commission, who has been the Public Service Commission, that's been trying to clean up this mess for, as you said a moment ago, now 3 years. What do you think the disconnect is between your recommendation, what the commission believed was the right thing to do, and ultimately what Judge Little saw fit to do in terms of appointing this receiver?
Honestly, and I agree with you. I think Judge Little is a very good, honorable man. What I think happened was, and he stated in court that as late as Thursday before the meeting, there was only one name. We had no interveners at all. So there was one name that was presented to the judge for him to consider. So going into Monday, that's all I think in our mind, that's all he had. So he was going to appoint the PSC recommended receiver, which is what the statute says. The statute says that we would be the ones that would recommend. Of course, ultimate decisions in the judge's hands, and we respect that because that's the way the law is written. And but come Monday, there were two different parties that they did not file to intervene, that presented two alternate receivers. And I think that it went from having one to two alternates, and then the attorneys for the city did a very good job of of minimizing how bad the system is, and basically painted a picture that it doesn't need triage; it just needs a couple Band-Aids. And that's just not the facts. I was up there all weekend, and the vegetation's still everywhere. I mean, you can drive down I-22, the major artery, the interstate right between there, and there's vegetation on an HSUD pole. I mean, all the way up the pole, right next to the Love's pilot station, right on the 4-lane. So you don't have to go far to see, that very little progress has been made, and those people are still suffering. And I think the city's attorneys did a good job of spinning it like, oh, it's just, everything's fine. Just give us a little more time, and it'll all be fixed.
Yeah.
And again, going into it, he had one choice, and the professional receiver was more expensive, and I think that weighed into his decision as well. But we are going to appeal the decision based on a lot of these things that weren't brought to light, or that were very misleading by the other side the Monday last.
Sometimes guessing what a judicial decision is going to look like is a fool's errand. Do you anticipate that in this appeal of the receiver that was put in place because of the concerns from the commission that there will be an overruling and a change in this?
I do, because again, I think Judge Little didn't have all the information in front of him, because again, all of us thought, even the judge's admission, that there's really only one choice, and then two more came in that were spun as all this system needs is a Band-Aid. We just need a couple more months, and it's all going to be sunshine, and everybody's got power, and we're going to be as good as everybody around us, and that's just not the case. And so, to your point, I think Judge Little wants to do the right thing, and we just want to present to him another set of facts, and kind of this storm, put a spotlight on it, that the city itself and the receiver that was named, is my understanding, is still in Johnson City, Tennessee. He's not been on the ground at all. So the only people there running it are the same people that always ran it, the city and the alderman. And, there's not, to my understanding, again, they only have three linemen that work on Holly Springs Utility District. It covers 13,000 customers, over 1,600 square miles, and covers or touches 5 counties, and even goes into Tennessee. You have 3 linemen working for them, and that, Richard, that's the problem, is that as long as the city's in control of it, it's been 2 decades, and there's $18 million being owed to TVA. Their system is not safe, so they don't have proper safety protocol. They don't have PPE. So how can you hire employees to work in a system for not any higher pay than a neighboring system that is more dangerous and not as safe and much more work? And then you have the headwinds, too, of neighboring utility systems that want to help, but it's a safety issue for their crews.
Chris, let's continue this conversation on the other side of the break. Chris Brown, Northern District Public Service Commissioner. Certainly have got more questions. We'll get to those coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
You may think that I'm talking foolish. You've heard that I'm wild and I'm free.
Continuing with Chris Brown, Northern District Public Service Commissioner here in the state of Mississippi. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, brought to you by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Chris, I want to revisit, and we had a request for this on the C Spire text line, revisit the numbers that you gave just a second ago. 13,000 customers, 1,600 square miles. Is that accurate?
Yes, five different counties and even into Tennessee.
Wow. And and there are only 3 line workers that are employed by the Holly Springs Utility District.
That's what's being reported to me, is that there's 3, and that's from the now named receiver himself, that there's 3, and one of them, I'm not bashing the linemen at all, but how can you cover that much area? Just three linemen, and you may be able to count 4, and Mr. Humphreys, but Mr. Humphreys is almost 90 or right at 90 years old, still working. And to his credit, we had a hearing, and to some of those linemen's credit, we had a hearing in Holly Springs at Russ College, and Mr. Humphreys at 80, right at knocking on 90's door, he gets up and says, "I apologize, we can't provide the service that we want. I'll continue to work harder to make this happen." Oh. And so it's reported to be the mayor of Ashland, Mayor Carroll. He says, it gets so bad, sometimes he has Mr. Humphrey's cell phone number. He'll call him, and at 80, right at 90 years old, he'll come out there in 80, 90-degree weather and reset a breaker on a pole. So,
okay, to your point, and I understand that this is comparing apples and oranges, I live in Oxford. Oxford is split between Northeast Power, which is the electric cooperative, and then the city of Oxford. Where we live, we are on Northeast Power. I've had 3 linemen show up at my house after a squirrel tripped the breaker at the pole.
Yes, sir. They have 3 total to cover the whole area. And here's the problem too, Richard, is the way it's set up. 70% of the connections, 70% of those customers are outside the city limits. 70%. They have no voice and say so whatsoever in how that system's run. It's a city-owned municipal. There's only 3 in the state that operate like that, and that was way back when TVA was set up, and they've just been there a long time, and that's Holly Springs, New Albany, and Okolona. Those are 3 systems that have the majority of their service area outside the city limits. And in New Albany, it works great. Bill Maddox and his team do a fantastic job up there. But in Holly Springs, somewhere along the way, the train got off the tracks. The money wasn't reinvested in the system, and it got very, very decrepit, and it's in a crisis mode now. Even to the point that we've been after them for 2 years, hard and heavy, between us and TVA. We even started paying them $12,500 a day until they got it going. And to this day, they really haven't moved the ball down the field very much. They painted a couple buildings, but I was up there yesterday, and there's, again, still vegetation right off I-22.
Well, and that's something that you and I have discussed at length in the past. And I guess that's part of what I'm having trouble. When this investigation has been going for as long as it has been going, you said 3 years just a moment ago. Just seconds ago, you said, 2 years specifically in trying to address some of the issues. How is it that no progress has been made? Is there so much red tape that the Public Service Commission does not have the ability to say, here are the problems, here is the fix, go? Does that solution not exist?
It doesn't. By the law, we
Why
have
not?
no oversight. I know that's well, it's the way it's set up, and anybody that's served by TVA, they are the regulatory authority. So TVA it regulates Holly Springs, not
Right.
the PSC. So only we can only step in and regulate and kind of go after these systems outside the TVA service area. So it's incumbent on TVA to kind of police that system.
Does TVA not want to see this fixed?
They do, and they've been helping us as well. But the problem we have is it's the only one in the country that the powers that be and the admin have not taken care of a potential tremendous asset, and the people suffer. So in a normal utility, this is the only one in the country we know that is like this, and it's the only one in the TVA Valley. I have 180 different co-ops similar to Holly Springs. This is the only one in the Tennessee Valley that has this kind of chronic problems. Because everybody would assume that if you're guaranteed a profit, which all utilities are guaranteed anywhere from 8 to 12% profit, that goes back into the system, or adds fiber or whatever they want to do. Well, Holly Springs, for whatever reason, the administrations prior just have not seen fit to reinvest in the system or to treat it like the asset that it was. And now it's become a kind of a boat anchor and weighing down the city because they're responsible for it. This $12,500 a day, when we move to collect that, it's not going to be on the county to pay it. It's going to be on the city residents to pay it. So what's that going to do? So obviously we're using that as a hammer to say, okay, y'all have to get this right, or we are going to move to collect that money. Because you're not going to continue to misappropriate money and not.
So does that put Holly Springs as a city into the potential for bankruptcy?
It could. We're at $4 million now
in penalties.
In penalties. They owe the Public Service Commission over $4 million in penalties. They owe TVA $18 million. After this storm, they're probably going to be another $4 or $5 million in the hole.
Would the PSC be willing to waive that fee if Holly Springs, and forgive me for using this phrase, got right, quote unquote?
Yes, and I think that is the kind of the hope is that, you know, when we levied the fine, we wanted to show them that we're serious. You cannot have status quo. The people up there deserve better, and again, they have no representation. The representatives up there, you know, I work with Representative Faulkner and Kincaid and Senator Whaley, and you know they want to see it fixed. People have different ideas on how to fix it, but everybody knows it cannot stay the way it is. And I just want the people of Holly Springs to know that status quo is not an option for us. We're pushing every lever that we have to try to enact change up there. And I do think through our earlier points, Judge Little is fair and honorable man. I think when he sees kind of a clearer picture about what it means to leave the city's manager still in control, it makes it very hard for him to do anything different than what has already been happening over the last 9 months. You have to have an independent receiver in there to be able to make the decisions and to see things that everybody else hasn't up until this point.
You said something a second ago that I'm kind of hung up on. You said that these co-ops, and I may not be using the right phrase there, are guaranteed an 8 to 12% or 8 to 10% profit based on the way they operate, and then they, at least in theory, would take those profits and reinvest them into the system or to the operations. Who is guaranteeing this profit?
It's guaranteed in the rate base. So whatever you pay on your electricity bill, it's a series of data points that go into it. Maintenance of the infrastructure, fuel costs, everything that goes into supplying a kilowatt to your home is all in a formula. And so they add a certain amount of margin to allow these power companies to reinvest and to expand if they have an opportunity to, or even go into, a lot of municipals are partnering with broadband companies to deliver broadband to their citizens. So all that's cooked is put in the rate base, which spits out of how much per kilowatt hour at the end of the day. So there's not a utility in the state that I know of that is going backwards like is what's happening there.
All right, so the hole at this point, I mean, as you described it financially, is so incredibly deep. So as I hear you describing this, one, we've got this deep hole of debt, but then there's also this massive cost that is needed to actually fix the system. Is there a roadmap out of this, regardless of who the receiver is?
Yes. So right now, when the legislature commissioned a study 4 years ago, that's what kind of started the ball rolling. Senator Whaley came over to the House.
20 seconds to the break. Sorry.
Okay. So Senator Whaley started the studies to see how bad it was, and so that kind of started the ball rolling. There is a way out of it. I know that there's numerous people that would the receiver can triage it. That's why forensic audit is very important, to see how much money they have and where is it going, to be able to plug that gap. Okay. So if it's being misappropriated, then we can fix it. Plus, once you get it out of the city's hands, then people have confidence that the money's going to be spent properly. And once the forensic audits are being done, the state of Mississippi or TVA or whoever can.
From here on Super Talk Mississippi.
I grew up poor and ragged, just a simple country girl. I wanted to be pretty more than anything in the world. Like Barbie are the models in the Fredericks catalog. From rags to wishes in my dreams, I could have it all.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. Glad to be with you on this Wednesday morning, August 26th. This was Dolly Parton in an interview with Jimmy Fallon.
Many years ago, back when I was a kid, they had a bear in a cage. You know, we're famous for the bears in the Smokies. And they had a bear in a big cage up there, and people would stop at this market, and they would buy Cokes for this bear. It was in the cage, and tourists would take pictures, because Gatlinburg, that whole area, for years, they would put Cokes and peanuts in the Coca-Cola cans or whatever the bottled Cokes were then. So anyway, this bear was just getting bigger and bigger, but they were doing that, and they were just selling all kinds of stuff at this market. Yeah. And this poor bear was just drinking them all. And one day, some redneck they put gasoline in a Coke can. Can you believe how bad people are? And the poor thing just went crazy, and it broke out of the pen. And it started toward Sevierville, because Pigeon Ford's about 8 miles from Sevierville. And it just ran all the way down, and it was just going down there. And then, all of a sudden, it just fell over.
Oh.
And,
dead?
No, it was out of gas.
Hook, line, and sinker. She got Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, man.
How good is that?
That's pretty good.
How good is that?
I found some other quotes that I thought were just gold. She said, "My songs are like my children. I expect them to support me when I'm old."
Ooh, that's good.
She said, "I describe my look as a blend of Mother Goose, Cinderella, and the local hooker." People say, "How do you stay looking so young?" I say, well, good lighting, good doctors, and good makeup. I'm a self-made woman, and I have the doctor bills to prove it.
That's good. The tributes, you want to talk about Fast and Furious. And again, as you and I talked about earlier this morning, you can't find one. You can't even find comments on Facebook posts where anybody has said anything negative about Dolly. Taylor Swift said a world without Dolly doesn't feel possible, real, or right, but because of the eternally generous way she spent her time on this earth and the countless lives she changed for the better, her legacy will be an everlasting one. Somehow she was true grace and true grit, all in one dazzling person. Dionne Warwick said the Heavenly Father has made the decision to bring another of his children to him. Dolly, a true child of God, is in the best hands now. How about this one from Paul McCartney? Her songwriting, her singing, and her philanthropy were unrivaled in the world of country music, and it is hard to imagine living in a world without Dolly. She was a very clever businesswoman who understood the value of her music and, most importantly, the effect she had on the people of the world. There was no greater honor for me than to have her sing my song, Let It Be. And even though I only made a small contribution to it, I am so honored that she did it. Jane Fonda, who is quite the opposite of Dolly Parton in that she will tell anyone what she believes, but was a co-star with Dolly in the film 9 to 5, said, "I never knew anyone like her. She was simultaneously a naughty, playful Southern gal from the hollows of Tennessee and a deep, soulful thinker who could see through people right down to their true selves. She was many things: lyricist, songstress, player of many instruments, writer, prankster, visionary, loyal friend who'd never go to bed before she and her friends had laughed so hard they'd have to cross their legs." Carrie Underwood said, "She's not gone. I know exactly where she is. She was the epitome of faith, grace, talent, beauty, and humor. She had a humble heart for Jesus and made everyone around her feel special. She was probably the one person on planet Earth that everyone loved and could agree on." The list of tributes just goes on and on and on, said in true Reba McEntire style. Well, I just got the news that my buddy Dolly passed on to the higher and greater side. Dolly, thank you for all the wonderful things you did for us here on Earth, your love, your music, and you gave so much with your huge, huge heart. There will never be another you. And then Ken Burns, the documentary filmmaker. He did the baseball film documentary. He did the Civil War and was behind the country music documentary miniseries, said, one of 12 children raised in a cabin, Dolly Parton left home carrying nothing but songs to become the most beloved figure in American music. She wrote, I Will Always Love You as a goodbye to Porter Wagner. Today it belongs to all of us.
So one of her other huge hits was Jolene, which was inspired by her husband's trip to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
She said there was a bank teller that was kind of had her eye out for Carl Dean. That was her husband. And she told Carl Dean, she said, you've been spending a lot of time at the bank. And this is back before she was really famous. She says, we don't have that much money.
She married Carl Dean, an asphalt paving contractor in the mid-1960s. They were together until his death in 2025 at the age of 82. He was rarely seen in public, but was a large influence on her career. She told NPR that she wrote Jolene about a flirty bank teller who seemed to take an interest in Carl. Oh, goodness. That's great. One of the really cool things about Whitney Houston recording I Will Always Love You, she won a Grammy for it, and there to announce her win was Dolly Parton. Oh.
You ever been to Dolly? Did you go to Dollywood? Did we talk about this?
I have been to Dollywood.
You know, she never rode any of the rides. She was afraid it would blow her wig off.
Might have been a health hazard.
She was afraid it would blow her wig off, is what she said.
Oh. I thought you were referencing maybe one of those Instagram videos you see where a large-chested woman will be in one of those seats strapped in like the bungee, not I mean, I guess bungee jumping, but what do they call it? The ejection seat?
Yeah.
Like, I think you can do that at Destin where, like, it pulls you down with a bungee cord and then it lets go and you just, like, fly straight up with a great amount of force. And there is a lot of movement. And I thought you were going to say that Dolly was worried about the movement. She was not shy talking about her endowedness. But she did it in a way that was, I mean, it felt like you could play it on a video in a Sunday school class. Oh. Jerry in Pontotoc says, I think Dolly was smart enough to have fixed the college football mess. Rest in peace. Thomas in Greenwood says, I'm telling you, the White Stripes cover of Jolene is better than the original. Well, that's fine.
One other thing that I found kind of interesting about her, and you know, there's millions of things, but I read this morning that her preferred method of communication, what do you think it is? Email, cell phone.
I've seen a lot of letters that she has written that people have kind of posted. What is that it?
Well, it was, but it was through fax.
Oh.
She continued up into the day she died faxing. That's how she responded to people.
I thought National Signing Day was the only time that a fax machine was used anymore. And I guess that has also kind of gone the way of the dodo bird. Dolly Parton, gone too soon.
The musical icon, the cultural icon, one of the most beloved names in American history, has passed away at the age of 80.
Here you come again, Jolene, 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 Jolene.
Dolly has lived in the light and is in the arms of Jesus, surely met by Carl, her parents, and countless others who have watched her and longed for her to meet them in the heavens.
Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong?
Dolly Parton was an absolute icon.
She was the voice of Tennessee and the heart of country music.
Dolly Parton is just about as iconic as they get.
Her career spanned more than 6 decades, more than 100 million records sold, 11 Grammy Awards, and even an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
She has always been on your television, your record player, your CD, and on your phone playlist, becoming an extended part of your family, whether you like it or not.
What an incredible.
SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming it. Will, I need a little managerial advice. The clip I played for you in the break, too crass for SuperTalk Mississippi Morning Radio, or okay?
I think it's fine.
All right. Dolly doing a Q&A, and here's the question and the answer.
If you could tell teenagers of America today one thing, whether it be advice or something of support, what would it be?
I would say, act like it's raining every day and wear your rubbers.
Oh, Dolly. Oh, Dolly. If nothing else, you made us laugh, but there was so much more. Thanks.
Man.
Thanks for indulging us this morning, or indulging me this morning. It has been fun to remember Dolly Parton. I've only come across one thing she did that I didn't think was very good, and it was of no fault of her own. A few years ago, she was brought to a Tennessee football game. Peyton Manning escorted her out onto the field. She was standing on like a foot-tall raised walkway, and they were walking out arm in arm. He was standing on the ground, and he was still taller than she was, but it bridged the gap a little bit. And she gets out there, and she's speaking to she's got a microphone in her hand. She speaks to the crowd. Yeah, good to be here in Tennessee. We got Georgia here, boo. She goes, Georgia's got a song that they like to sing, and she sings a little riff of Georgia on My Mind. And then she goes, but we've got a song too. I mean, the whole crowd's playing her. She's just playing to the crowd. Clearly, Rocky Top is coming. She says, we're going to sing this with the University Choir and the Tennessee Marching Band. We're going to all sing it together. Well, her IFB, her earpieces are not working. So she can't hear the choir. She can't hear the band. There are 100,000 people in the stadium that are supposed to be singing with her, and all of them are on a different part of Rocky Top. And she goes, I can't hear a thing with these in my ears. She's like, but I know the words anyway. And starts to sing it. And it was a disaster, but it was still so cool. And you could tell that the crowd absolutely loved her, as was almost always the case. Hey, if you find yourself in the market for a new or a previously owned vehicle, you know that sometimes going through that experience is not the most fun that you can have. It feels expensive, and you feel like you're dealing with pushy salespeople, and you can't decide exactly what you want. Well, I can't promise you that the experience will, at least in your mind, be perfect. But I promise you that it will be as easy as it possibly can be when you deal with my friends at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. They're located on Highway 6 West in Oxford. They've always got a great selection of vehicles on the lot, whether you're looking for a brand new F-150, an F-250 Super Duty. Maybe it's the full-size Bronco or the Bronco Sport or the Expedition or the Explorer or any of the Toyota vehicles. They got a great selection, but it's not the selection that sets them apart. It's the people that you're dealing with. Belk Ford has been in the Belk family for over 100 years. They've been in the automobile business that long. They've been located on Highway 6 West for about 45 years now, and they're not going anywhere. They've got an incredible sales team that is going to listen to you. They're not going to be pushy. They're going to help you get into the vehicle that you want at a price that you can afford. And then they're there after the sale as well. Service department that's incredible, including a full-service diesel mechanics shop on site there. Those are hard to come by and sometimes hard to trust the group that you're dealing with. You can trust the folks at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. Tell them that you heard about them on Super Talk. We would appreciate that very, very much. Look forward to being with you again tomorrow morning. Thanks for kind of joining us in a trip down memory lane with Dolly Parton. Enjoyed our brief conversation with Paul Cousin from the National Parks Service. He's the Vice President of Government Relations there. Optimistic that funding through the Public Land Legacy Restoration Fund is going to continue so that our national parks can continue to be the incredible asset to all of us that they are. Also good catching up with Chris Brown. We will continue to watch the story with the Holly Springs Utility District and hope that at some point actual progress is made for the people of Holly Springs, Marshall County, and the 5 surrounding counties that are served by HSUD. Will, outstanding work this morning, as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. We're back with you just after 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Until then, have a great Wednesday.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.